I write that I think it's multi-generational and has been going on for centuries. My four grandparents moved to the United States from Italy before I was born. I grew up as a child in this, and I believe it was passed down to us, my parents and the family I grew up with. Then I married in my 20s, and I married into a family who also practiced ritual abuse. I am divorced from this family. However, according to my memory retrieval work, I know I knew this family before I married into it as a young child since I was about 4 years old. So I believe it was arranged by the cult network and perhaps some ancestral bloodline connection. Okay, so oftentimes in ritual abuse families, there is incest and sexual abuse. My early memories started with the recall of sexual abuse. Several years later, I then remember being sold to the United States government for mind control experimentation, MK Ultra, specifically breeder experimentation, and many kinds of torture, drugging, electric torture, waterboarding, gang raping, etc. I believe many of these tortures were done then to erase my memory and to create the disassociation while all this was actually taking place. So, because I was primarily used for breeding, the multiple breeding experimentation, I was accessed and flown to different many locations. But first, I want to say many things happened in my home city. And that's because I believe there's a network of underground military bases, the DUMBs, underneath colleges and universities right here in upstate New York. But because for all the years of my memory recall, I have other locations, and I was used for, in vitro fertilization technology. I was the guinea pig for that. I was used for the Human Genome Project for that kind of experimentation. So I was flown to different places according to my memory recall, Area 51, Stanford University, the Black Forest in Germany, and as we spoke, Westminster Abbey and the Tavistock Institute, the tunnels underneath in London, England. I also gave birth to one set of twins in the Skull and Bones building at Yale University. I also have several underground military bases under Washington, D.C. I also recently, a couple years ago, remembered that I was sold in the Singer Castle at the Thousand Islands in New York State. And also because I was used also for psychic development and a lot of the remote viewing experimentation, that seemed to be done in Nassau, in Florida, and also in Camp David that I recall. And also there's another one, Virginia Tech University was also another location in the underground bases. They also used the basements years ago, but it's both basements and underground bases. So, and I just want to add to that, it's taken me many, many, many years to remember and process the varied locations. But because all the research I've been doing when I'm going through this and afterwards, I seem to have been able to validate some of these specific locations in my processing. Okay, well, early on, but then later on too, implants were put in certain parts of my body, in different locations in my physical body. I believe I may have been connected to some mainframe computers. I hope you can still see me. So I could easily be accessed in this way without me consciously knowing it was happening. And through the severe, profound, and repeated abuse, I disassociated from my physical body. And I was not consciously aware that I was pregnant each and every year that this was done to me. So many different tortures were done before, during, and after the pregnancies and the births to erase my memory. So while it was actually taking place. And I've been remembering these abuses, events, locations years later. But I believe the mind control programming they use or they used to install does eventually break down. And so, with my persistence in the healing modalities I use, my body and mind has been remembering years after things have happened. Yes, I do believe with all the MK Ultra mind control program, they were able to create and dissociate my parts. So I am recovering probably still from dissociative identity disorder. And in the remembering, it's the multiple personalities when they're ready to speak to me, the host personality. That's how I connect and integrate as I've been healing. But yes, I believe they were very adept at knowing how to split us from ourselves. Well, how I answered this is I believe all of it was horrific over a long period of time. But for me, as a trained breeder, for the cults and the MK Ultra experiments, since I was only a child myself when this began, my motherhood and my reproductive life was stolen from me. I have never raised any of my own children, and to this very day, the children who are surviving are still being abducted as we speak. And I also believe my children who are being abducted are still being used for more mind control experimentation. So this is what's so horrific for me that I believe it's still continuing. And because I'm a mother of many children, this is why I chose to speak. But this has been a major human trafficking business run by the United States government and other countries as well. And I feel a deep, deep sorrow in my heart for being, for a life that's been stolen from me and stolen from my own birth children as well. Well, I made a choice to be part of this project, as I said before, to share some of my personal story. Um, and the reason I did this is so this extensive corruption and evil in our world will stop with a capital STOP, so that future generations can hopefully live peacefully and our planet can heal, truly heal from the degradation of human beings and mankind. And for me personally, while I'm still alive, I never, ever, ever give up on finding and being with some, if not all, of my own children who have survived these tragedies also in my and in their lifetime. It's something I still work on, that I will meet with them, know them, and they will know their birth mother.